What if one day you woke up in a world where everything you had believed up until that moment was no longer real? It was all fake. All your beliefs and your belief systems were bogus. And that's what I want to talk about today, because today is the day that you get to wake up. Today is the day that I want to introduce you to and show you how to evaluate, find, and eradicate bogus belief systems. So today what we're going to be doing is breaking bogus beliefs. What's up, everybody? This is Drew Davis. I'm your host of the Learn How to See Better podcast. It's the only podcast out there that'll improve your vision the longer you listen. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to help you improve your vision. We're going to help you see better, because what you're going to be doing is learning how to keep an eye out for belief systems that are bogus, belief systems that no longer serve you, belief systems that are essentially presenting false evidence in your world that appears real. And if you look at that word, that phrase, false evidence appearing real, it's an acronym for fear. And that's your first clue. When and where do you see fear in your life? Yeah, let's get into it. Not holding back, because that's a clue. What are the things you're afraid of? If you're 5 years old, I'd say, what are you afraid of? You might say that the monster in the closet. It's the boogeyman under the bed. Okay. Well, perception is 90% of reality. The kid believes it. It's real to them. You can't tell them otherwise. Until that belief system shifts, does the fear go away? You following what I'm saying here? So stick with me. By the end, you're going to have a means by which you can go through and start to evaluate and eradicate your bogus beliefs, because that's what we're doing today. We're breaking bogus beliefs. So now think about this. You've essentially got an enemy amongst you. If you think of yourself as a winning team, you got angels looking out for you, you got friends, but sometimes there's foes. There's wolves in sheep's clothing. I call these enemies. These enemies leave clues the same way they say success leaves clues, enemies leave evidence. And that evidence is in the form of the repeat patterns. Because when do we get to think that there's anything wrong with our belief systems anyway? If you get to the point from childhood, you get past the monsters under the bed and all the other things you get worried about as you go through your developmental stages and in school and social situations and just how you develop as a person. Now you're grown up, walking around feeling fine. But for many adults, they will find that at a certain point in life, they get these evil enemies starting to show up in the form of repeat patterns that they can't quite figure out why. They're seeing evidence in the real world that seems to like butt heads with everything they've grown up on. I was raised on this belief system. What do you mean to tell me this isn't right? Everybody's been telling me since I was a kid the sky was red. What do you mean the sky's blue? Or vice versa. I know what a cloud looks like. Those aren't clouds up there. I don't know what that is. You can't change the belief system of some people of what they believe certain things are. A square is a square, a circle is a circle. So it has to go with being able to see these repeat patterns where they're causing some sort of, be careful with the verbiage, dis-ease in your life. Where are you finding and feeling pain? Sometimes it's the beliefs that we hold on to the most that cause us the most pain. And remember, the belief systems that we've bought, we typically bought those when we were in our developmental stages. Some people still think there's a boogeyman out there or someone or something out to get them. Isn't that crazy? Where'd that belief system get formed? We've probably been in situations where we can look at another adult and say, well, what are you so worried about that for? Why don't you want to get in the pool? Why don't you want to go on the boat in the ocean? Oh, okay, they can't swim. That might be a legitimate reason why they've got a concern about getting in the water. But maybe the belief system is that they'll never be able to swim. Or maybe their belief system's that some event took place once when they were young that experience has told them, you don't want to go get in that water again because you remember what happened last time. And so that experience, you start to kind of build on that base belief and treat it like a foundation. And with a strong enough foundation, you can build a skyscraper, right? So if we think about that and recognize that there are familiar feelings that come with these repeat patterns, there's instances where you felt a certain way when you realize, man, you know, this experience is really not making me feel good, but I believe this other thing. Is my experience not really real, or is there something wrong with my belief system here? And so if you're following what I'm saying, you're probably painting pictures in your own mind of experiences where you've said, man, that didn't really feel good. Maybe you're the person that always goes the extra mile to help others. And maybe you found instances where you're not appreciated, or you feel like a doormat, like you've been walked all over and used and abused. Take stock of that familiar funk and the repeat patterns, right? There could be a belief system that if I go jump on every grenade, that I'll be able to keep everyone safe. And that false belief could be showing up in the real world, is that maybe that martyrdom is actually reducing the perceived value of you in the eyes of others. And it maybe leads people to take advantage of you in situations or throw their grunt work on you. Like, I know so-and-so will tackle it. They'll get this handled. We've been there in school situations where there was a group project. One person's like, yeah, I got the smart kid in the group. They'll handle all of that. So you start to see where, if you were the kid getting off on easy street, you may begin to see that, like, hey, there's always going to be someone to clean up after me. And that could be a belief system that serves them through a part of their life, or it could be a belief system that starts to work against them at a certain point. No different from the student that says, well, I'll just do it all because I want to get my A, and if I've got to suck it up for everybody else, great. How's that going to serve them in the work world? If they've got an overbearing boss, they're going to fall victim to those same thought processes and those same ways of operating that make them feel bad. They actually feel like the doormat. They feel underappreciated. But until the bogus belief is blown up, you're going to be stuck. So this is where awareness comes in. Where do you see these instances in your life? Where do you have interactions with people or situations maybe when you're by yourself, alone with your thoughts, that you start to feel a certain way about what's going on in your life? Let's say you took a life wheel and broke your life down into 10 different areas, from your happiness with your family, your happiness with your career and business, to your spirituality, your fun, to your money, your mental health, all those things. If you graded them, you'd realize there's probably some things that are lagging a little bit. And if the number's lower than you'd like it to be, maybe start to wonder why. Is it purely neglect? Is there something deeper there? Is there a past challenge preventing us from leaning into that? So if we can have awareness to these experiences and step back and look at them a little bit different, we'll start to see how our belief systems operate. And so this requires a great deal of honesty with ourselves and how we kind of step back and look at situations. Let's say you had to give a presentation for work, and you may receive some constructive feedback. But when asked about it, your belief system may think that they tore you apart up there and they completely roasted you. And maybe the belief system that's owned is that any constructive feedback is a criticism that means you're, not good enough. There's ways people can misinterpret things. Some people have a hard time receiving compliments. Have you ever given someone a compliment, a genuine compliment, and they just super downplay it, like, oh, no, oh, it was nothing. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, it's like, it's a genuine compliment. It should be easily received. People like their compliments being received. But if the recipient has a bogus belief system that they're not deserving of that compliment, they're going to push it away. They're going to turn it down. They're going to downplay the amazingness. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. You just saved that person's life. Oh, they were at the brink of death and you did it. It's not that big of a deal. I just, did a little of this and that. And it's not being smug, but like, literally there's some instances where folks have a hard time accepting the compliment. And so there's a belief system there that's blocking it. And what we're seeing is an instance where maybe they don't feel that worthiness to receive that compliment. And so that's something that you don't want to poke at. It's maybe an instance where you want to look at your own life and say, okay, where have I done something like that? Where have I been not willing to receive praise? Um, um, that's one big one. Sometimes people don't like that the attention. Maybe they feel they're not worthy, or they grade themselves on a tougher scale than everyone else. So there's the whole gap in the gain where there's not enough praise for the gain, only the gap being seen. Oh my gosh, you got second prize in the thing. You were nowhere on the radar. You stepped into this competition completely new and amidst a field of skilled competitors. You did great. Well, I didn't get first, and first place beat me by a mile, and da. I was like, whoa, okay. That may be true. That may be part of the story, but the main piece is, hey, you did great, took second place. Let's celebrate. But that belief system is blocking the receipt, the receiving of that praise, which becomes very interesting because then you got to try and figure out, all right, once you're aware of bogus beliefs in your life, how do you blow them up? That's the challenge. Are the things you're seeing just happening in your case? Only the folks over there can be, good athletes, not you. Only this group over here can get straight A's, not you, right? And that's where we have to kind of weigh it out. Are the things that we're believing in really unique to us? Or is the same wind blowing us all? And it's just our perception of how that wind blows that's really the difference maker. And so that's where you set the stage up for the breakthrough, because if you can step back and honestly answer those questions, so you realize, okay, well, actually, you are part of the cool kids club or the smart kids club or whatever block that you're dealing with. Some person might work for a giant corporation and be working their way through middle management on their way to climb the corporate ladder. If they can recognize that the other person's promotion didn't have to do with any lack of ability on their end, but really just skill sets of the candidate and maybe timing of the person that did get promoted. And you realize, okay, there is an upward path through this company for you as well. It just happened to take place for a different person at that time. And that's where you become allowed, you get to a point where you kind of allow yourself to just break through that. It's almost like you're trying to walk across a frozen lake. It's not that solid when you find some weakness through the experiences testing the belief system, which is like the ice lake. This is where you break out the jackhammer and crack through that belief and get that first win, the battle of the mind, the battle of control of the belief systems. And that's what gives you an opportunity to take a new belief system and replace the old one with a new belief system that empowers you and say, you know what? You are worthy. You are capable. You are skilled. You are worthy of these compliments. But if a belief system is there that's been blocking that, until you get rid of that, until you get rid of the hater of the head, the hater inside your head, then it's going to be tough to continually make progress with that jackhammer. Because once you break through one level, you realize, oh, there may be a couple of other areas where I'm holding on to things that no longer serve me. And it's as simple as recognizing, are your belief systems serving you? Are you feeling good as you go through life living? Or the ways that you think about things based on your beliefs and your outlooks clouding reality and bringing you unnecessary and unpleasant situations? Listen, I've already told you in the past that growth and comfort do not coexist. So if you're trying to grow and you're also battling bogus beliefs, it's like you're trying to run and sprint while you're underwater. You've just got too much resistance blocking the way. And so that's where I want to share with you that you have to have a attitude of dedication, really, to seeing clearly. If you realize there is some BS or a belief system out there that's working against you, you've got to be dedicated, because how long did it take you to even find that you had a bogus belief? Cracking through may not happen overnight. It may be a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a journey. And so that's where I want to share. In my case, I was able to see that I could make connections to uh, youth sports. And as much as I enjoyed youth sports and all the positive things that my coaches and guides infused into me as a youth, I was able to see something that happened in my experience that shaped how I behaved as an adult. That as a kid, it maybe was cool, but an adult, it's not so cool. And then when I think back, well, maybe then for a kid, wasn't that cool to begin with? And I'm going to give you an example. The belief system came from this scenario. You're a kid playing tackle football, running around. Everybody's about 80, 90 pounds soaking wet, just having fun out there. And it's all just sports. It's all just fun. It's all just the love of the sport. All well and good. This was really an environment about encouragement and fun and teamwork. And flash forward, all of a sudden you're, in high school. And the landscape changes a little bit. Yes, it's still fun and you're still playing for the love of the game, but now there's, higher stakes, playoffs, championships, kids going through puberty, testosterone, stakes are higher again, things are more intense. And so now, in the era I grew up, this is, you got, loud, boisterous coaches. This is the era where you might get grabbed by the helmet, yelled at, shake you around, smack you up, call you all sorts of stuff to get you fired up there, to go out there and hit somebody, to go out there and make a play, help the team win, make the tackle. And so there was this kind of culture, this belief that I can look back and see that developed. That's like, okay, if I want to get the best performance out of myself, I got to get all jacked up. I got to talk crazy to myself. I got to grab my helmet, smack myself upside the head, call myself some crazy stuff that might irritate me or anger me more. And then I'm going to go release that anger on the competition and boom, that's how you succeed. That's how you're victorious. That's how you bust through all your barriers. All well and good. And I think it served me in many ways well to help me level up and reach different personal bests in athletics and physical accolades. And you can take that mentality in everything you do, but there was a certain point at which, as an adult, if I was going through a new experience, a challenge, maybe trying something new, and it's not quite a slam dunk. You're new, so you haven't made it to great or even good yet. You're still in the beyond bad. And sometimes if you break out that old toolkit, going back to, 15, and if you think like a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you look at the problem. All right, let me grab my hammer. That's how I'm going to deal with this problem. Bam, I'm going to hammer the nail. Bam, bam, bam. And it's just like the old, football motivation. It's like, rawr. And what I would realize as an adult, that all of a sudden it's like, I don't need that motivation to get me fired up to want to perform better. If anything, it's more like, hey, this voice is a little intense in my face. I don't like that voice. I'm ready to turn my energy on the voice that's trying to grab me and smack me around. But sometimes that voice is a voice inside your head, a voice that's trained to think, well, I want to get better performance. Therefore, let's dig in the toolkit. And the toolkit says, grab the hammer, get yourself fired up, talk crazy to yourself because you've got to make yourself do the best, just like you did when you were 15. But then at 45, it's like, this isn't really working. And if anything, talking crazy to myself is not actually making me feel that good. Using the toolkits of old in the world of today that's not the deal. And so you realize, okay, but that's the tool I know how to use in this situation. So what do? Well, this is the only tool I know how to use in this situation. It's almost like a broken record. So the hammer keeps nailing, the hammer keeps hitting the screwdriver like a nail, and wonder why the screwdriver won't screw into the wood. And that's my analogy. Sometimes that's my analogy of how we as adults will sometimes go through life trying to address issues and challenges, is maybe going through it with a toolkit that's outdated, a toolkit that's from yesteryear, a toolkit from a 30 or 2/3 of your life ago that's no longer relevant based on all the development that you've made in the last couple of decades. So that aha for me has helped me to reinforce simple concepts, that live in the realm of self-love. Phrases like see yourself through kind eyes. Phrases like, knowing that I'm at the beginning of the journey, I have so much opportunity to grow from here. These are ways that you can reframe and shift how you look at the landscape of breaking through and breaking down bogus belief systems to get something more solid to stand on. Maybe like truth, as opposed to belief systems that may be built and rooted in fear. And so none of this is to say you had a bad childhood or to say there's, go and start an argument with your parents. That's not the ticket at all. But it is to motivate you to take stock of kind of where you're at, what your overall wellness level, happiness level is in life. And if we look at any of those dips in your life wheel, so to speak, where might you have neglect? Where might you have some busted or broken belief systems, some bogus belief systems that just need to be blown up? And it's not rocket science to be able to figure that out. It does take some courage. It does take some dedication. It does take some awareness to what you're sensing and what you're feeling. And it does take an ability to, really be honest with yourself and step up to saying, I'm not sure if this is really for me, because you can do that in private, or you can have a trusted comrade to share some of that with. But being willing to communicate these challenges, being able to communicate these experiences and articulate them. Maybe it's writing it out, maybe it's speaking it out, maybe it's talking it out, but being able to unearth really these, toxic landmines and diffuse them and get rid of them before they blow up your world. That's the ticket. That's the ticket. Okay. So let's go ahead and recap and zoom out for a second to wrap this thing up. Breaking bogus beliefs. These last few episodes have been tying it all together. Episode 219 talked about how learning never stops. Adopt that identity of a lifelong learner. Episode 220, here's where I'd introduce you to the idea that growth requires discomfort. Growth and comfort don't exist. They're not even roommates. They're not even friends. They don't hang out. In the last episode, number 221, as a reminder to reframe failure as just feedback. Here's how we get to tie it all together. Bogus beliefs are linked into all of them. It can stop you from learning new things. It can stop you from moving into discomfort to grow. It can make you look at failure as more than an event. Make you look at it as an identity. And that's bogus. And once you reveal this ugliness, you can't unsee it. So here's my challenge to you this week. Go on a hunt. See if you can't catch one. You're looking for one bogus belief in your life that you could blow up. And even if you don't take an all-out assault on it, make note, write it down, and ask yourself in quiet, is this really true? Give yourself time to think about it. And then turn around and flip that into something that serves you, a belief that serves you and doesn't sabotage you. So I'm all ears. Love to hear what you've got, what you come up with. Drop a comment, share it with me, message me. I want to know how you're breaking through. Remember, your growth, what fuels it is that lifelong learning attitude. Taking action. That's how you blow up fear. And know that the reward is the wisdom that comes from the experience. You're collecting data. You're a learner on the journey. And that's what brings some of that freedom. You break through that bogus belief system that's holding you back. Reinstall a new belief system that can actually serve you. So with that, here's to seeing better, living better, and believing better. This is your host, Drew Davis. Learn how to see better. It's the only podcast out there that'll improve your vision the longer you listen.